Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. I want to tell you about something that I've talked about before, but the state has really become active in promoting its landlocked salmon stocking program or rearing program. Now, New York State has hatcheries, especially in the Adirondacks, that are devoted primarily to rearing and bringing about landlocked salmon from raising them to a certain point, and then they stock them in many of our lakes and ponds. And one of the things you can do is you can go on the DEC site, and they have a new video that takes you right to a hatchery and teaches you more about this fish. This fish is a very special fish, and they call it landlocked because what they're taking is Atlantic salmon, and they're putting them in some of our inland lakes, and they become locked into that area. They can't flow back into the ocean like they once did. They used to go up our streams to spawn and then find their way back into the ocean. And these fish are really special. They're not like the Pacific salmon we catch in the Great Lakes. Atlantic salmon tend to be long and slender, and their fight is you gotta really experience it to understand the joy of catching one of these high flying acrobats. Their initial once they hit your lure and you hook them, they swim at a tremendous speed. They're very fast, and it's just a great battle that you have. And if you've never hooked and caught one of these, you really got something ahead for you. You know, the state of Maine has always been made famous by its wonderful landlocked salmon fishing, and people travel there every year to experience this. Well, we have some great landlocked salmon fishing in some of our lakes, and I remember fishing Lake of the Woods down in Jefferson County, and it's one of the Indian River lakes. And I remember years ago going in there with my canoe and trolling along with my fly rod and my sink tip fly line, and using a streamer or like a hopper imitator, or any of the patterns that work for trout in our ponds are going to work for the Atlantic salmon because they're in the same area and they're feeding on the same hatches. And just troll along, and the strike will come, and it's very sudden and abrupt, and it's so exciting. And the other thing that you can catch these Atlantic salmon on are small spinners and spoons. They really react to those. In fact, a spoon made in Maine, and you can still find them, it's called a moose look wobbler, and it's one of the most famous. It's really a great spoon, and so I highly recommend that. And fly streamer patterns that work well for Atlantic salmon are the gray ghost, if you can remember that name and look that pattern up. The gray ghost streamers are wonderful for Atlantic salmon. It's not that this isn't a complex thing to learn how to catch these fish. You just fish them the same way you do trout in ponds, and you'll remember this fish forever if you ever tangle with one. And you can get areas where they've stocked them also in DEC reports. So that information's out there for us. If you wanna dig to try to find it, it's there. So, you know, we have a number of lakes in our area that they've put landlocked salmon into. And I remember being part of stocking. I was on the stocking boat in Tupper Lake a few years ago to stock these fish, and it's amazing. They really are wonderful. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.